You have reached a field test and review on the SOG Fasthawk. I hope you enjoy. To start off, I would just like to say that I'm trying something a bit different this time with my field test and review. I'm going to overlay my field test while I'm talking on the table, just so that you don't have to stare at the table the whole time. So it will be less boring, and also it will greatly shorten the length of video. So yeah, don't be surprised if a video overlay comes in of me doing some chopping while I'm still talking about the tomahawk. Anyways, so this is a SOG Fasthawk. It's kind of the little brother to something called the Tactical Tomahawk, also by SOG. And the original Tactical Tomahawk was based off the Vietnam Tomahawk, and except it was extremely evolved to modern standards. So this is just what it is. It's a smaller version of the Tactical Tomahawk. I've never owned the Tactical Tomahawk, but it's basically about 5 ounces more, I believe, and about 3 inches longer, and maybe a slightly longer blade. But anyways, so the idea over the Fasthawk was to make a faster, lighter, and make it more agile, easier to carry than the original Tactical Tomahawk. So this would be good for, I would assume, armed forces for entering and trying to get out of situations. Also, I would probably, not that I'm in the armed forces or anything, but I would think that the Tactical Tomahawk would have been a bit better for self-defense, but this would work just as well. And this is a little thing on the SOG website. It says that this is able to chop, break, cut, hammer, pierce, dig, pry, pound, shave, notch, open, and it's also good for throwing. So I've tested all these things, and I've been very, very happy with the outcome. So now that I've kind of introduced it, I'll go into some quick specs. So to start off with some quick specs, the MSRP, or the market suggested retail price, is right around $50 on the SOG website. But you can find it a bit cheaper and a bit more. Depends where you're going. If you're shopping online, you could probably get it for cheaper. Also, I live in Canada, but in the US I've heard of people getting this for under $20. I did pay it right, I think it was exactly at $49.99. And that was at Canadian Tire. If I shopped around more and bought offline or online, I could have probably gotten a better deal. But I actually bought this about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, and I wasn't really into knives, and I just thought it was kind of cool. But I'm still very glad that I got it. So the overall length is, I don't have a ruler with me, but you can just take my word for it or look on the SOG website for all the specs. 12.5 inches overall. The blade length is 2.4 inches, and the blade steel is 420 stainless, which I'll get into a bit more in the video, and it's a straight edge, as you can tell. The Rockwell hardness is 51 to 53. I'm not an expert on Rockwell hardness. I have my preferred steels, but even in steels I'm not an expert, so yeah, it's held up fine though to everything I have. Now, it won't hold an edge as long, but again, that's for later on in the video. The total weight is 19 ounces, and it is made in China. So if you're into like a US produced product, then this isn't going to be for you. But really, I don't think that China has anything to do with it. I own many knives made in China, and as long as they have good quality control, it doesn't really make a difference where it's made. And the sheath, which is right here, isn't really the best sheath for me. It's made of ballistic nylon, I believe, with a snap closure. Just 3 little snap button closures, and it does have a belt loop on the back. I don't know whether you'll be able to see that right there, but it's so small it's not really realistic to put around a belt unless you had a really skinny nylon belt, which I have actually. I used to keep just a white nylon belt attached to this, and I would just put this over top of my regular belt to have it on my belt, so it does work. But usually I would just throw it in a pack with this sheath on. And yeah. So it's held up fine. I have heard of people the stitching might start to rip, but I found it as long as you put it in properly, do all the snap closers, it's pretty secure. Now you don't want to come out that way and then accidentally cut the front of it, so I just usually pull it out like that and then out. But so as long as you take care of it, I wouldn't really recommend keeping it on a belt. That will shorten its life. Just throw it in a pack or just carry it in your hand too if you don't have anything else with you. Yeah, so now I'll go into some points in the video of what some of the good things, some of the bad things, and just like general durability, performance, and that. And yeah. The first point that I'm going to go over, I'll take away the sheath for this, is edge retention and sharpenability. So this is made of that 420 stainless steel. I'm not 100% sure. It just says 420 on the SOG website. I don't know whether it's 420 like. Is it 420 HC? I'm not 100% sure, but it does not hold an edge amazingly. I have thrown this plenty of times, and I've shaved lots of wood with it, chopped, and I say it doesn't hold an edge very long, but for what I've used it for, it's held it long enough. You can kind of see the edge there. It's a little bit chipped on different parts, but that's very easy to get out. I've only sharpened this once, and it wasn't even really full sharpened. I literally just ran it a few times down the stones on the coarse stones of my Spyderco Sharp Maker, and it actually made it a lot sharper. So, and also I find when you're throwing it, as long as you aren't throwing into a really hard material, you don't need it to be super sharp. And for chopping and stuff, again, it doesn't need to be super sharp. And I just sharpened this to the 20-degree angle, if you are wondering. So it's been fairly good. The sharpenability, very easy. Edge retention, not the best, but as you can see, I'll have a video some point in this video of me just shaving some wood with this, and it did it very well. And that's after throwing it probably about 15 times after I sharpened it, and it was still that sharp. So now we're on to durability. So durability has been surprisingly well. You can see it pretty much looks new, in my opinion. The only mod, I should have said this at the beginning, that I've done to the handle is I put some electrical tape on it. You might not even be able to see it, but it just goes up to there and it stops. And that just gives you a bit more grip. Lets you grip the tomahawk a bit better. And the way I wash this I'll just quickly go on to cleaning. I literally just put it in my sink and just wash it with a whole bunch of water. Just scrub it a little bit to get the mud off of it, and then I just dry it really well. And so far, this black finish has held it very well. It's not rusting at all anywhere. It's held it pretty much everything just on the top there. You might be able to see how it's chipped a bit off, but that was from my hammering test that I had done on this. Hammering it in the nail with that knurled pommel there. I also should just go over the quick the three main tools on this that I would use this for. So you have the main cutting edge, 2 inches. You have the spike on the back. It's not really real sharp, but I've used this for breaking apart some rock, trying to get into ice, breaking through some ice, and even when you're throwing it, if you accidentally throw it wrong, it can actually stick with the spike, even though it's not that sharp, as long as you're, again, not throwing it to something super hard. But everything's held up very well for durability. The only thing is, and I think this is because of the throwing, is that there's a little bit of wiggle, and it's only if I really go like that. I haven't even attempted to fix this yet, but I can try it with my torque kit and see if I can tighten it up a bit more, and I'll put that in the description or whatever if I find a way to fix that. But I have fully confidence for everything I've done with this, all the chopping tests. It's held up more than I've expected it to. So just a little bit of wiggle is really the only main hit with durability. Finish, great, hardly any nicks. So the throwing ability, and I'll probably overlay some images of me throwing this now. Now I've never actually owned another tomahawk, so it's kind of hard for me to compare this to other tomahawks throwing wise. In the future I may have more tomahawks, but I don't think tomahawks are really my main collecting item. I think I would be more apt to buy a knife rather than tomahawk. But I have been looking at some cold steel tomahawks for right around the same price, which would be a good comparison for me to see around the $50 mark which one performs better. But this one has performed exceedingly well with throwing. Not super long distances, as you can see. I forget whether I put a video of me actually throwing it to show you how far away I was. But it sticks from that distance very well, and it sticks hard. The one image that I'll overlay is it actually broke off part of my board, which was about 2-3 inches thick, which is just shows how hard of a thrower this is, like how hard it sticks and how strong it is. Not really strong, but hello again. I was just out here throwing my tomahawk, and I actually, just to show you how powerful this tomahawk really is when you're throwing it hard, it actually went right through this board. That's just how powerful this tomahawk can be and how dangerous it can be. But it still is really fun to be out here and throwing tomahawks. Yeah, so throwing I'm very happy with. It's really fun to go out either in the woods, just throw it at random trees, or I have a target set up in my backyard that I throw it at. Just a fun activity to do outside, and yeah. So now I'll go into the performance point that I want to talk about, and this is where most of my field tests will be overlaid into the video. So the way I'm going to do this, go through, is actually what they said on the SOG Knives website about how it can chop, break, cut, hammer, pierce, dig, pry, pound, shave, notch, opening, and throwing. So I have most of those things under field test, so I'll start off with chopping. So as you can see in the field test, this is a really good chopper, especially for its size. Now if you had a nice splitting axe or whatever, obviously it would chop a lot better, a lot quicker, but this is done fine. Also it's just very good with the cutting. If you're trying to make a spear or something and you just need to cut off some limbs, it's really easy just to cut down, and it will take off all the smaller limbs with ease. I would actually recommend carrying one of these, some sort of hatchet or tomahawk, along with your main knife. It just makes a lot of things a lot quicker. And so on to breaking, like I said, I don't think I have a field test on the actual breaking with the spike, but it performs very well. It's durable. I almost like it better than if it was really sharp, because I don't have to worry about dulling it or whatever. It's just very big. Well, super big, but just thin enough, but just thick enough that it's not dulling or breaking or anything, and you can just go into whatever you want to do. And yeah, it's great. It's great for breaking things. Not that you're going to be breaking a lot of things with this, but if you had to, also that would be good for probably getting into a place, or if you need to get into like a cranny or something, you can break through the ice, whatever. I'll leave that to your imagination. So the hammering, I did do this just quickly into a piece of wood. I just got 2 size nails, and so it's a bit off balance because the front head where the blade is a bit heavier than the spike on the back, but it actually works exceedingly well by hammering the nails in if you just keep control of it, and the knurled part of the blade hasn't really taken any dings or whatever. So it's nice that they put that in there if you need to hammer tent spikes into the ground, stuff like that. It's nice. So piercing, that kind of goes along with the breaking the spike. It's nice for piercing into things. Digging, now that's actually one thing that I haven't really done with this. I don't really see a need for it, But if you were to have to dig something, this spike would be very good at digging a trench or whatever. Although I would probably just use a strong, hard piece of wood or something. But it is able to do that. The website is true. Pounding, that's kind of just like the hammering. Very good pounding into things. Now the shaving, I'll put that image in here. This again shows you how sharp it is. And I just put my finger in the front big hole. These 2 holes in the blade, they're more aesthetics than anything. I find they might take away a bit of weight, but I just put my finger in the front one to do my shaving, and it's very nice to shave, and it just shows how sharp this thing can get. So you can make feather sticks and stuff. Obviously a knife would be preferred, but if you just had this one tool, it would work. Notching, I have done notching with this particular tomahawk. I don't have a field test of it yet. I might do it and add it in, but probably not. But just know, if you can shave, you can make a notch. Pretty self-explanatory. Again, good for making your own tent pegs, snares, that kind of thing. I already went over throwing. It's very good at throwing. And the last thing would be probably splitting. And I don't really have all that much video of the field test of me splitting. Because when I was splitting a lot of wood, I didn't actually have my camera with me. It was more just purely for me to test it. I have a little bit of splitting video that I might overlay in this part of the video. So it does split. It takes a bit of practice to get the proper technique. I wouldn't recommend just like going into it and just trying to chop like an axe because of the lack of weight. But if you put your hand on the wood and hold on to the tomahawk like that on the piece of wood, and then just slowly knock it in, you can see by the video how I did that. So it does split, not ideally the preferred weight and things like that, but it again will split if you have to. To conclude, my final thoughts are generally very positive about this tomahawk. Now, as I said earlier in the video, it's kind of hard for me to review this tomahawk comparatively to other ones because I haven't actually owned another tomahawk. I have done some research on some other ones, and the nice thing about this one is that it's so lightweight, right? And it's easy to carry, packable. The positives far outweigh the small negatives, and those negatives are and this is mainly from throwing. If you aren't throwing this tomahawk, it probably wouldn't be as bad if you were using it more for wilderness, firewood prep, and that kind of thing. But that wiggle, if I can get it like that. It hasn't caused any problems yet. It could pose a problem in the future, but as of now, that's fine. The only other really main downside is, well, also the handle. It is more comfortable. You probably will want to wear gloves for it to feel good using it hard. And the main thing that I wish they could improve is the sheath. Now the thing is that this isn't really a disadvantage necessarily if you're going to carry it in a pack, but I would prefer to carry this on my belt. And they have actually come out with a hard plastic type sheath for this Fasthawk with fast deploy and stuff, but that's almost the full price. It's probably, I would say, around $35. You can probably find it like the Tomahawk cheaper or more expensive. But if you're going to be paying more than half the price of the original Tomahawk, I would almost just buy a whole new Tomahawk with a better belt sheath if you were going that route. But all in all, this is a wonderful, wonderful tool. It can be good for anyone from the military to just general camping, bushcraft even. Obviously for bushcraft I would probably prefer a hatchet with a larger blade and just like a kind of, not really necessarily a stronger construction, but just a more simple construction for bushcraft. But outdoor use, you can use it for throwing, just for that kind of sport. And it really is amazing. This has been a Bright Hole Studios field test and review. I hope you like my new format of overlaying the field test. I hope that it shortened the length of the video instead of having like a 30-minute long video with the field test and then the review. I'm kind of putting them together. So anyways, I hope you enjoy it. Like the video if you liked it. If you have any questions about anything or any recommendations for future reviews or ways to improve my reviews in the future, Just subscribe for more, and I hope that you have a great day. Take care.